In the final months of 2025, Japan made a decision that barely registered beyond a small circle of strategists. There were no press conferences, no dramatic announcements, no sense that anything extraordinary had occurred. Yet, inside government briefings and industrial planning rooms, something fundamental shifted. Japan quietly redirected one of its largest long-term strategic commitments toward a partner it trusts deeply, reshaping how power, supply chains, and influence flow across the Indo-Pacific. This was not about confrontation, and it was not about symbolism. It was about architecture. And while attention remained fixed elsewhere, this recalibration began altering the balance in ways that China did not anticipate and could not easily reverse. Welcome to Geocapitalist, where we examine how quiet economic decisions reshape global power over time. Today we explore how Japan's $75 billion strategy with Canada is changing the balance with China across the Indo-Pacific. If you value fact-based geopolitical analysis that looks beyond headlines and into long-term strategy, consider subscribing. Now, let's begin. Why did this shift unfold with so little noise when its implications were so large? The answer to this is simple. Because Japan has learned that the most effective strategic moves are often the quietest ones. Rather than announcing a grand alliance or unveiling a headline-friendly pact, Tokyo allowed the strategy to surface gradually through investment signals, policy alignment, and institutional coordination. The absence of spectacle was deliberate. Japan understands that in geopolitics, visibility can invite resistance before systems are fully in place. By the time observers noticed the pattern, the framework was already forming. This approach reflects a deeper Japanese planning culture that prioritizes durability over immediacy. Instead of reacting to short-term pressure, Japan builds structures meant to hold under stress. The process resembled reinforcing a building's foundation while the city above remains distracted by surface activity. Nothing dramatic appears to change, yet the structure becomes stronger and more resilient. Canada's role emerged through this methodical process, not as an announcement but as a recurring constant. Each decision reinforced the next, creating momentum without exposure. By choosing discretion, Japan reduced political friction, avoided premature scrutiny, and preserved strategic flexibility. What looked like inaction from the outside was, in reality, disciplined preparation for a longer and more consequential realignment now quietly underway. And at this point, you're probably asking yourself, where did the $75 billion figure actually originate and why does it matter now? It did not emerge from a single agreement or a dramatic announcement, but from a long-term strategic commitment embedded inside Japan's Indo-Pacific planning horizon. Tokyo structured this capital as a layered system of public financing, private investment incentives, and development partnerships extending toward 2030. The intent was not speed, but reach. Japan understood that influence in the Indo-Pacific would increasingly depend on shaping economic pathways rather than issuing security guarantees. As one Japanese policy advisor noted, supply chains are no longer economic tools. They are security systems. That insight explains why the strategy emphasizes connectivity, industrial reliability, and trusted partnerships. Canada entered this framework not as a beneficiary, but as an enabling partner capable of absorbing and reinforcing these flows. Unlike short-term stimulus programs, the $75 billion strategy functions as scaffolding, supporting multiple initiatives simultaneously without centralizing political risk. This design allows Japan to adjust allocations quietly while maintaining strategic coherence. The number itself is less important than what it signals: commitment at scale, patience over headlines, and a recognition that economic architecture now shapes geopolitical leverage more effectively than overt confrontation ever could. The next question is, why did Canada become central to a strategy spanning the Indo-Pacific? Because Japan was searching for a partner defined less by scale and more by reliability. Canada offers political continuity, transparent regulation, and an energy system aligned with long-term decarbonization goals. For Japanese planners, these traits reduce uncertainty across decades, not quarters. Canada's clean electricity base, expanding LNG capacity, and credible environmental standards allow industrial planning without sudden reversals. Equally important, Canada's institutions signal predictability to investors and manufacturers that require stable inputs. In strategic terms, Canada functions like an anchor point in a shifting system, holding tension steady while forces move around it. That anchor role matters when supply chains stretch across oceans and jurisdictions. Japan recognized that a trusted anchor lowers risk everywhere else in the network. By integrating Canada early, Tokyo improved resilience without provoking confrontation. The partnership advanced quietly through standards alignment, co-financing, and technical cooperation rather than headlines. Over time, these layers accumulated into dependable capacity. Canada did not need to dominate the strategy to shape it. By being reliable, it became indispensable globally today. And at this point, you're probably wondering, how can an economic strategy reshape an entire region without a single confrontation? It happens by shifting incentives long before tensions ever surface. Japan's coordination with Canada did not announce a new bloc, yet it redirected flows of capital, technology, and trust across the Indo-Pacific. When partners begin aligning standards, financing routes, and energy systems, influence moves with them. This shift mattered because it offered countries an alternative pathway that did not require choosing sides. Instead of asking states to align politically, Japan and Canada made alignment economically rational. A senior regional diplomat once said, "The most powerful alliances today are the ones that don't ask for loyalty, only reliability." That framing explains why the balance shifted quietly. Nations noticed opportunities, not pressure. Infrastructure planning began adapting. Supply chains recalibrated. The result was a regional environment where China remained central, but no longer singular. By emphasizing openness and durability, Japan reduced the perception of rivalry while still reshaping outcomes. Canada's presence reinforced credibility, signaling that this was not an experiment but a durable framework. The Indo-Pacific did not change overnight. It tilted gradually toward systems designed to endure friction rather than amplify it. Why did Beijing fail to anticipate a move of this scale until its effects were already visible? Because the strategy challenged assumptions that had held for decades. China's planners expected diversification, but not redesign. They assumed Japan would adjust within existing systems rather than help construct parallel ones. What unfolded instead was a gradual rerouting of dependencies toward partners judged more predictable under stress. The shift was subtle enough to avoid triggering immediate responses, yet deep enough to matter. China's strength has long rested on scale and centrality, but scale alone cannot guarantee control when alternatives mature quietly. The process resembled upgrading a power grid with redundant circuits. Electricity still flows, outages are rare, and nothing appears broken, but leverage disappears when a single node can no longer shut the system down. By the time this redundancy became visible, it was already embedded. Japan did not reduce engagement with China dramatically, it reduced vulnerability. Canada's role amplified this effect by anchoring reliability outside China's immediate reach. What surprised Beijing was not exclusion, but irreversibility. Once systems are redesigned for resilience, restoring former dependencies becomes structurally difficult, regardless of diplomatic intent or economic incentives. But what does Canada truly gain from being embedded inside Japan's long-term strategy rather than standing alongside it? More than visibility, Canada gains positioning. By aligning with Japan's economic architecture, Canada moves upstream into decision-making rather than remaining a downstream supplier. This shift elevates Canadian energy, minerals, and industrial standards into reference points for regional planning. Instead of competing on volume alone, Canada competes on trust, consistency, and system reliability. That distinction matters as industries plan decades ahead. Participation also attracts capital that values predictability over speed, reinforcing domestic capacity without forcing rapid expansion. In practical terms, Canada strengthens its role as a platform where global strategies are executed, tested, and stabilized. The relationship rewards patience. Like a port designed for heavy weather rather than fair conditions, Canada becomes most valuable when volatility rises elsewhere. This role does not require dominance or visibility. It requires credibility under pressure. Over time, such positioning compounds. Projects cluster, standards converge, influence grows quietly. Canada's gain is not immediate leverage, but durable relevance in a system increasingly defined by resilience. That relevance is difficult to replicate and even harder to displace once established. Who else is watching this quiet alignment between Japan and Canada, and why does it matter beyond the Indo-Pacific? The answer is broader than it first appears. European planners, Australian policymakers, and Indian strategists are observing how economic resilience is being engineered without public confrontation. They see a model that reduces dependency without demanding exclusivity. That model travels well. As supply chains fragment and reassemble, countries seek frameworks that offer stability without political entanglement. Japan's approach provides that option. A European trade official recently remarked, "The future belongs to systems that lower risk without raising flags." That observation explains the growing interest. This strategy does not force alignment, it attracts it. Canada's participation strengthens the model's credibility, demonstrating that trusted institutions can anchor global strategies without dominating them. The ripple effects are already visible in cooperative financing, shared standards, and parallel planning across regions. No formal block needs to be declared. Momentum builds through imitation. As more actors adapt their planning assumptions, the center of gravity shifts subtly. What began as a bilateral alignment starts influencing how multiple regions think about security, investment, and autonomy simultaneously. What kind of global order begins to form when strategies prioritize architecture over confrontation? One defined less by dominance and more by design. Japan's alignment with Canada reflects a shift toward building systems that function even when pressure rises. Instead of reacting to crises, this approach anticipates them. By embedding resilience into energy flows, financing structures, and industrial standards, Japan and Canada are helping shape a landscape where stability is engineered, not assumed. The strategy resembles drafting a master blueprint rather than responding to emergencies. Walls, foundations, and load paths are planned in advance so the structure holds when stress arrives. This is the essence of the emerging balance. Power is exercised quietly through preparation rather than loudly through assertion. Countries operating within these frameworks gain options, not obligations. Over time, that flexibility becomes influence. The Indo-Pacific does not polarize further, it diversifies. Canada's role as a trusted anchor gives this architecture weight and credibility. Japan's role as a strategic designer gives it direction. Together, they demonstrate that long-term planning can reshape outcomes without escalating tension. The new balance is not dramatic. It is durable. And durability, in an uncertain world, is becoming the most valuable form of power. This was Japan's $75 billion strategy with Canada and how it quietly changed the balance with China. No announcements, no confrontations, just deliberate design shaping the future beneath the surface. If you gained clarity today, I invite you to watch the next video. At GeoCapitalist, we focus on how power is built over time, not how it is advertised. The most important changes rarely arrive loudly, but they always leave lasting marks. If you value credible analysis of the forces shaping tomorrow's world, subscribe and join us for the next chapter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.